So it's my proud privilege to introduce today's speaker, Ms. Nita Ganguly. Uh, Nita is an educator, humanist, motivator, attitude changer, author, climate leader, mentor, national coordinator, waste management, TCRP India. She has uh, received a lot of national and state awards, Best Teacher Awards for Excellence in Education in 2004, Excellence in Teaching Award in Innovative Teaching Practices in 2010, a Fulbright Scholar 2009, TEDx Speaker 2017, Chairperson for Asha School, Western Command, winner of AWWA Award of Excellence in 2017. She was headmistress of Army Public School. In 2008, she was certified as a climate leader by the Nobel laureate and the former Vice President of USA, Mr. Al Gore, who is the founder of the Climate Reality Project, TCRP. Ever since, she has not been, have looked back and reached out to defense personnel from different commands. She visited as well as civil societies, including the rag pickers, through several CR presentations, hands-on workshops, and mentoring programs. Her profile as a climate leader was put up on Victory Wall of the Climate Project Asia Pacific Summit in Jakarta 2011. Nita was invited by TCRP to represent Southeast Asia to go live from Delhi at 24 hours of reality and live Earth. The world is watching. On 14th November 2015 and on 6th December 2016, again she had spoken on 24 hours of reality, the road forward. She mentored for Climate Reality Leadership Corps in 2015 New Delhi, and in the COVID pandemic, she mentored two virtual global training programs for Climate Reality Leadership Corps in July and August 2020. She's the National Coordinator Waste Management for TCRP India under Al Gore Climate Leadership Program, also in the advisory board of Earth Day Network, Eco Network, and TCRP India. Vice President, Environment Sector, Mumbai Chapter of the MSME Chapter of Commerce and Industry of India 2021. She authored two colorful illustrated children storybook on current environment issues, Polytrap 2016 and Hello Earth, Here We Come 2017, published by Rupa Publication under the Red Turtle series. She was the series editor for the Active Tea Saga series published by Pearson Education 2017. She also authored the UNESCO report on Green School Project for Maldives government on behalf of the Climate Project Foundation in 2015. She firmly believes that people cannot be forced to adopt certain attitudes unless they embrace a sense of responsibility and accountability to protect the environment. So proudly present Nita Ganguly. Nita, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can I share my presence? Thank you so much. I'm totally blessed that I'm among the August gathering of the Rotarians. I salute all of you. And can I present share my, yeah, okay.
Sure.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see you.
Yes.
You can see your screen.
Yes. And share sound also. So, yes, and I'll just slideshow. Let me go to the slideshow mode. It takes a few minutes, seconds in fact. Yeah. You can see it now?
Yep,
We can.
perfect.
Reduce this. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. And what you see in front of you is one of the most widely used images in the internet. That's the blue marble. And it's so called because, you know, when we were kids, we used to play with that kancha, the blue marbles. So that's what it used to resemble. Therefore, it was called. So this picture was actually taken from a distance of about 29,000 kilometers from space. And it was taken by the crew of the Apollo 17 while they were going to the moon, towards the moon. And on 7 December 1972, and I believe when this picture was taken, the sun was behind the earth, and therefore such an illumination. Mother Earth, as we all call her, Earth is just so because, you know, earth and water are supposed to be the feminine energy, and they're opposite to the masculine energy. And if you see, they move on their own way. They are typically more stiller, and they are more receptive compared to air and fire. Planet Earth has been here for 4.6 billion years. Much, much, much longer than any form of earth that actually, of life that actually existed over here. And so for billions of years, actually, she's kept on changing, evolving, modifying, adapting, and, you know, preparing itself so that it can have a very conducive environment for it to bear life. And hence we call her Mother Nature. Well, fossil records have actually shown that the present day life, which we see now, had actually existed from a unicellular bacteria. We all know that. We've learned it in our biology too, which was, which stayed there for several billions years. And it was only the emergence of the present, or the more modified and a more complex form of life came about 540 million years back. And I don't know whether you must be familiar with the story of Goldilocks and the three bears. And it goes that I believe Goldilocks had to pass through a forest. She walked through and she came across a house that belonged to the three bears. And so when she walked in, she fed her, she, you know, helped herself to the porridge which was lying there. She ate the porridge, she sat on the chair, she slept on the bed. And every time, she wanted something which was just right. She didn't want her porridge to be too hot or too cold. She didn't want her bed to be too hard or too soft. Well, that is the reason why the Earth is also known as a Goldilocks planet. And the very one of the reasons is because the position of the Earth to the sun is just right, so that the temperature is not too hot or it is too cold. Not only that, the planet Earth is the only earth which has got this liquid water. And because of this liquid water, we all know that Earth sustains life. So no matter how big or how small these creatures are, they spread across thousands of different habitats, microhabitats, they spread across them. And there are millions of these different species which exist on these habitats, which have billions of different individuals in each of these species that we are talking about. And these have actually trillions of characteristics. And these characteristics are actually able to make them adapt and to serve to define life, and therefore they exist. And if you look at the biodiversity of a planet, it's colossal, it's huge, it's humongous. And India is supposed to be having the maximum, biodiversity compared to the other because of the temperature conditions and all. And it is also seen that, that for millions of years, actually, scientists have actually found out that there are about 8.7 million, species that exist on this earth. But out of this 8.7, only 1.2 millions have been actually studied, described, and most of them are all insects. So that means 86% of the species which exist on this beautiful planet of ours, we still don't know about it. It's a total mystery to us. We don't know what it is because it takes long to study. So the more vibrant and the more vigorous and the more biodiverse our Earth is, then all forms of Earth, including our own, has a hope to survive and be more secured in this beautiful planet of ours. You see the forest and the oceans and the soil. These are the three natural carbon sinks. They are like the sponges which can actually absorb the carbon. In fact, these tall, dense forests which spread across 1/3 of our land, they are capable of locking that carbon dioxide and stabilize our planet. And therefore, all three are responsible of bringing that stability in our ecosystem. So if you look at the forest of the world, that is not only in the land, but also under the water, under the oceans, the kelps, all of them, when they breathe out and they exhale, we breathe in. So they are the one who is actually connecting us, and our life sustains because of their existence. So millions of these pollinators which are around, the flying pollinators, basically when you have them, they hold the key to the delicate balance of our ecosystems. There are about billions of soil organisms who very silently, they do their job of rejuvenating and making our soil even richer and richer and richer. And there are megatons of phytoplanktons. These are the tiny creatures which are in the oceans, and they actually ape and they resembles the ocean's invisible forests they are. And it is believed that half the oxygen which is given to the planet comes from them. Not only there, they also sequester the carbon dioxide that we are breathing out. They will absorb it, and it's equivalent to all the plants on the land. So these are the reasons we have all together of them. They are the one who's providing the nutrition, the food, because of which we are able to survive. And not only that, they also give us an array of medicines that can help us to heal if we are not well. So the biodiversity of a planet gives it to us for our survival, absolutely free of cost. It's not charging us even a penny, but it will do so only if it has lots of it. And we have to realize that when she thrives, when the nature thrives, then we thrive. But when we actually fail her, that's when she can take us, she can leave us, or even worse. And she has repeatedly trying to remind us that please treat me well, take care of me, I'm your only hope. But somehow, in spite of a warning, the increasing warning of the severe devastations which we are seeing across, we have cloudbursts, we have cyclonic efforts which are now happening, especially in the coastal region of India, which used to happen in earlier rarely. Now it happens twice every year. We have flash floods, there are droughts happening, there are severe heat waves, which is now we heard about the heat waves happening in North America and other places, which is unheard of. The Arctics and the Antarctics are melting, and we have the forest fires. You know about the forest fires is happening in California as we speak, and in Australia for over a year it happened. All these are happening all across Earth, but somehow we have not learned. We continue to fail her every time. And it's like a habit that dies hard. And in the last 50 years, if you see, our actions for the profit is really diminishing the whole ecosystems all around. It has actually destroyed it. It has disrupted the entire ecosystems, because to us, the profit is more important than anything else. I would like you to see this video. Let me know if you can't hear the sound of this orangutan, and it's in Malaysia. They are trying to bring in the cultivation of only monoculture over here, removing the rainforest over here and bringing in palm oil because that's more profitable. And this poor orangutan is single-handedly, with his brave effort, trying to stop a bulldozer. actually snuffed away the habitat. And this beautiful, magnificent, this is a graceful creature, the feline, the fastest feline, used to once upon a time roam our forests too. But they disappeared by 1950s. And the last one that was hunted wild in the Rewa forest of Madhya Pradesh was in the late 40s. We don't have them anymore. Not only that, if you look at the human nature, I mean, of hunting, I mean, it's like the barrel of the gun is mightier. Is it mighty? Does it make you really brave? Look at the sadistic mindset we have, and because we want to conquer them over them and with barrels of the guns. This is the mindset of humans which are there, and they do exist, and we do nothing about it. And of course, I believe for 27 years, they found out, the study showed that in the protected areas of Europe, 75% of the flying insects had diminished. Not only that, the tunas have also drastically wiped out from the Pacific. In fact, the conservationists had actually warned that the most of the tunas which were caught were juvenile and had never reproduced. But we seem to be on a rampage, like a runaway consumption. This is the attitude of the human race, that we want everything that exists on this world is for our consumption. And that's what is causing all the devastation. So a report in 2018 by the WWF Living Planet actually showed that the vertebrates, that means the vertebrates, like we have the fish and the birds and the reptiles and the amphibians and the mammals, we had wiped out, the human activity had wiped out 60% of it from 1970 to 2014. That is what the report showed in 2018. Another report by the WWF Living Planet came in 2020, and they raised the bar to 68%. That's when, after the report was out, Carter Robert, who's the president and the CEO of the WWF US chapter, said that this report reminds us that we destroy the planet at our peril because it is our home. It's like ghar ki murgi dal barabar, isn't it? As humanity's footprints expands into once wild places, we are devastating species population, but we are also exacerbating climate change and increasing the risk of zoonotic diseases like COVID-19. We cannot shield humanity from the impacts of environmental destructions. It's time to restore a broken relationship with nature for the benefit of species and people alike. Well, when you talk about extinction, now species have been extincting for years together, and fossil records have shown it. But the rapid loss of species we are seeing today is estimated to experts between 1,000 to 10,000 times higher than the natural extinction rate. That means, in simple word, they're trying to say is, if humans were not here on this planet, this rate of extinction would have been much, much, much lower than what we see in it today. Well, if you see, Homo sapiens have been here on this planet for 300,000 years, and before this only, the fossil records have shown that 5 extinctions had already been witnessed by this earth. And these mass extinction is when it is 3/4 of your species get wiped out at a very short period of time. And these extinctions which we had seen, which the fossil records have shown, that because it happened much before the humans came into existence, and these had actually shown that it had started somewhere about 450 million years back. Remember, I told you it was 540 million years back when the more complex form of life came in, and 450 million back, the extinction rate actually started happening, where 70 to 95% of these species got wiped out. And one of the major reason are basically the catastrophic alterations which happen. That is due to major geologic or climatic events. And if you look at the entire lifespan of the Earth of 4.6 billion years, this 5 extinction is just a mere handful. It is not really too much. But every time the Earth has seen extinction, it has bounced back. So of course, after every extinction, it takes million years for these living creatures to again come back to the same level as it was before it got extinct. But what we are seeing right now is that this mother nature of ours does not need us for its existence because it can evolve. It is we who need her for our existence. And this is what we fail to understand. Because right now, as we speak, we are already facing the 6th mass extinction. And scientists have shown it. You look around, you look at the news, there are horrid stories which are happening around. And this is the only mass extinction. Unlike the previous 5 mass extinction, it is caused due to human intervention. It is we have caused it. So we don't have to, sort out any asteroids and flick it away or cap any volcanic eruptions because they are not causing it. It is all fingers are pointing towards our actions, human actions alone, and we are responsible for it. And scientists have actually said that this extinction is not starting now. It had started long back in the hominids in the Pleistocene stage. And that was because when man learned to make the weapon, the Stone Age time, that's when he was able to hunt down large mammals like the mastodon and the mammoths and the ground sloths and the giant beavers. So ever since then, the human action had an ever greater impact on other species, and we have not looked back. So if you look at it, in 100 years, we could lose more than half of Earth's remaining species. Whatever we have done already, so much of destructions, we can do it. And the single most biggest extinction reason today is habitat loss. If you look at this, agriculture, forestry, mining, dams, deforestations have disturbed and destroyed more than half of Earth's land area. And, we love to play a god. We keep on introducing new species into a habitat. We never learn from our mistakes that when we introduce something new into a system, it carries diseases, it will wipe it out, but we somehow never seem to learn from our mistakes. They prey on the species, then we overharvest whatever we are bringing in, we overharvest, not taking into extinction that it threats the survival of the species and also the species that depends on it. So whether it is dams or controlled forestry or fragmentation of forests or global warming or overpopulation or pollution, we have done it all, and we have altered the ecosystems and we have threatened many species. You see, we are already living in a pandemic world, isn't it? And this is because of the humans' interventions, and we have encroached every land, every area. We have concretized it. In fact, there is an increased risk of diseases and pandemic diseases because most of the places, if you see, are landfills. They are cesspools of pathogenic diseases waiting to outbreak. In fact, researchers and scientists have said that there are species who are going into extinction, but those who are surviving are the ones who are actually going to carry that pathogenic disease and make that jump from the animals to the humans, and therefore you have a blooming of your rats and bats and other creatures who are the carrier of the diseases. So climate change and biodiversity loss is definitely hurting our ability to combat the pandemic. So by the time this webinar gets over, somewhere in the world, 4,000 size of football size of forests will disappear. It is happening every hour, and we blame it and we say it's all done in the name of development. So the same oxygen concentrator which we fight for is basically what it does is it takes the air, compresses the oxygen, and then gives it to the patient. But we totally we forget that that oxygen is supplied by the disappearing forests of the world. So as we speak, somewhere there is a debate going on saving the Baksawa, because they want to wipe out about 2,15,000 of trees in order to extract the diamond. So we need to be very clear what is important in today's time. Is it oxygen or is it diamond? So you see, in the living world, somebody's waste becomes food for another. Somebody's poison becomes potion for another. Nature wastes nothing. But in the human world, it is totally different. Our poison is also poison for others. You see, we use poisonous pesticides to wipe out the pest. We call it in the form of weeds and fungi and insects and all. And because the whole main purpose is to increase our production, even at the cost of destroying the biodiversity, the ecosystem, and those creatures who are not even pests. But in fact, they are the key to our survival. They are the very reason that we have food on our plate. And they are the reason that there is biodiversity, but that is not important to us. And another thing we do is our potion, our medicine becomes poison for others too. And it is been seen that, the vultures, if you see the vultures, they are the scavenger birds. And they clean up our system, our society, and they also prevent diseases from happening. And what are we doing? They are the ultimate keepers for the balance of this ecosystem. And we have actually made sure the diclofenac, which has been banned by the humans over consumption, but is still being used by the veterinaries. And because of this, the vultures have disappeared. And because the vultures have disappeared, the feral dogs and the other rats and all, their population has increased, and therefore there is a total collapse of the natural animal disposable system, which is going to take care of our system or our own planet. So it's not that we do not have an alternative solutions, but that is not going to give us quick profit, which these pesticides and these or animals, these poisonous things can do. And yes, oh yes, how can I forget what humans have actually mastered in doing? And that is, we take and we make and we use and we dump. It is this disposable habit of ours that needs to change. I mean, a February 2021 report shows, and I'm only talking about PP mask. I'm not talking about the rest of the waste. I'm only talking about the PP mask, the polypropylene mask, which is single-use mask, is being dumped globally every day is 1.6 million tons of it. I'm talking about weight. By weight, it is 1.6 million tons. So it comes in billions when it comes to in numbers. And this is what is something which is very worrying. So you see, if we have induced the 6 mass extinction, then it is also means that human activity alone can also reverse this trend. So it is up to us whether we want to allow this extinction to happen or to allow it to destroy our world. So caring for environment is critical to our survival. It is high time that we realize it and face the real world. I mean, I'm not going to go into the do's and don'ts about what we need to do, how we restore it and all the things, because it is, we know it, everyone knows in their own way, they must learn to do something which is going to help to restore the ecosystem. The UN also had brought it out that they've given us a time from 2021 to 2030. Otherwise, the doomsday is definitely not very far. So I'm going to share one case study with you, which I'm very proud of and very close to my heart. And it goes back to somewhere early 2000, where I was teaching at Sanskriti School, Delhi over here. And I had actually introduced a zero waste target and taken care how to go for zero waste garbage. And these heroes over here, we have Ravi over here and Katan Saab and Abdul are actually helped and facilitated in implementing it and taking the school to zero waste garbage. target, and we were quite successful in doing so. So what I'll do is I'll share a video. Let me know if the video, if you're not able to hear it, then I will ask, I've given it to Mr. Shradlu, so he can actually play it, but let me know if it doesn't. So this is basically, I call it Each One Adopt One. It's on the YouTube, and I made the film. It's a 6-minute film, so it will not take too much time. It's an Abdul story, a rat picker boy, Each One Adopt One.
Abdul's story, Each One Adopt One. It was early 2000, and I can never forget the day when I visited Delhi's garbage mountain, Ghazipur landfill, with my students for a project. It was visibly obvious that the Murga Mandi located nearby used this as a convenient dumping site for all their leftover carcasses, besides the daily dumping of thousands of metric tons of mixed solid waste collected from the homes of the Delhiwalas. Not only the sight was repulsive, especially seeing little children rummaging through the solid waste to retrieve the recyclables, mostly smeared with maggot-infested, fungated, rotten kitchen waste that we daily dump. Since most prefer to diligently practice the "not my job" attitude, or give the excuse of having no time to segregate waste at source, the wet from the dry, a small act that would have added some dignity and value to the waste pickers' lives otherwise. Also, the horrible nagging stench stayed with me for weeks, constantly reminding me of the plight of the people who work there cleaning our muck in order to earn their daily bread. All it needs is a change, one act. Collectively, we need to keep the wet waste away from the landfills and handle them at source. A mission possible, where we can change all the stinking landfills, which are cesspools for dangerous zoonotic diseases waiting to break out, and instead turn them into resource fills. 6 December 2004, I met Abdul, and things changed for him and Sanskriti, the school where I was heading the environment department. I had already set up a well-functional segregating policy in the school targeting zero waste, a simple system where wet waste was collected and channelized for composting in the school compound itself. A person appointed to solely supervise this process and prevent any mixing of waste. Another person was made in charge of Univat machine that was placed to recycle both side used paper, which most institutes produce in bulk. It was the non-biodegradable that needed specialized handling. That's where Abdul came in. Earlier, he used to walk the streets day and night, scavenging recyclable waste for 8 to 10 hours and working hard to fill up his huge plastic bag that is worth something only if it reaches 60 kg of weight. 60 kg. Unless he met his daily quota, he had to give a miss going to his municipal school where he was enrolled, and that happened quite frequently. Most rack picker kids are not even fortunate enough to see the face of a school, leave alone be educated. Across India, they work without any job security, no regular salary, no dignity, and are exposed to adverse health effects like infections, respiratory diseases, tuberculosis, etc. Abdul too, like many others, had to face harassment on the road and the disgusted looks of people around who found him filthy and repulsive due to the nature of his work. It was mutual collaboration with Abdul and not charity that worked wonders for him as well as the school. The understanding was that the teenager had to attend his regular school in the morning, which was monitored by taking frequent feedback from his teachers. In return, he reached my school by 4 p.m. to sort, bag, and sell the dry recyclable waste, which was waiting for him in segregated bins that were kept ready by the school cleaning staff. So, the so-called waste, that is plastic, metal, glass, or even extra paper that he collected and sold to the kabadiwala did not go waste, but instead became the very resource for Abdul's education in exchange. This arrangement not only improved the quality of his and his family's life, but also gave him ample time to pursue vocational training. Once I asked him, Abdul, tu bada hoke kya banega? He replied, मैं बड़ा होके पढ़ा लिखा कबाड़ी वाला बनूंगा. Much later, he called me one day. I had left the school and moved to another station on posting with my husband. We spoke at length, and he told me he had moved on and has become a professional driver. What if? What if all schools, colleges, institutes, offices, communities, housing societies, etc., etc., each one adopt one Abdul? This simple act will not only lift rag pickers' children from the street and put them in school, but will also change many lives for good. So each one adopt one. Thank you for listening. I'm Nita Ganguly.
So it was like on one morning, it was a grandfather and a grandson. They were walking down the beach, and all of a sudden a wave comes in and brings in thousands of these starfish. So the grandson gets very excited. So he runs and he picks up one starfish and throws it back into the sea. He does it again and does it again. He does it again. And the grandfather gets actually annoyed. He says, what are you doing? I mean, there are thousands of them. What difference does it make? Continue. Let's continue with our walk. Just leave it and let's walk. So the grandson looks at his grandfather. He turns around. He runs again. He picks up another starfish and he throws it back into the sea. He turns back and he tells his grandfather, see, I just made a difference to this one. So it is important that no cause is lost as long as there is one person to fight for it. We live on this beautiful planet of ours. We call it our home. In fact, this is the only home that we all share. And as it says, we don't have another one. So we need to be the change and we need to care of it. Thank you so much. Jai Hind. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent, Nita. If anybody has any question, you can put it in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask.
Dharmendra, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Nita, first of all, excellent presentation, and it's a eye-opener. Especially those videos were very touchy. I like the orangutan piece very much. Okay, now as a Rotary, I want to ask one thing, a Rotary member, is that what according to you could be an area for Rotary intervention in environment?
You're asking me or you're asking the Rotarians?
I am asking you, what according to you means which require the Rotary as a philanthropic international organization.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of what is the intervention area which you believe needs attention from?
Every area needs it actually. We have actually ravaged everything. We want everything around us.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to pick up one to begin with. Let's pick up one area which you can do, make a change, and then move on to the next. Because there is not one area that we have not taken, we have not ravaged. We've ravaged everything around us. You look at Mumbai itself. You look at the forest. How much of the forest actually exists? So I started a concept in my school at Sanskriti. So because Sanskriti is in Chanakya, and this was when I was teaching there, and it's a ridge area. So ridge also is a habitat, though it is not as lush and green as the array forest over here, but it's also habitat. And actually that habitat was changed by the Britishers. It was actually a bushland. They were actually shrubland. And it was made into trees because they brought in the mesquite, which is an invasive variety and which has destroyed that place. So what we did was, a part of my school, that you can start as a Rotary, maybe you can do that. A part of my school, a little area was given to that school where there were steps and everything. We brought in the soil, we brought in the boulders, we recreated a micro ridge over there, and we planted only the indigenous variety. We made sure no mosquito, no indigenous variety came in. This was done in, I think, 2004. And last year, because I was doing a presentation, if I can show you the plant. Now there are huge trees over there. So even if you on your phone, if you just do a Google map location of Sanskriti school, you will see a big green area, the only largest green area in the school, next to the swimming pool, and that's the creation I did, a dry garden. So basically it was a dry garden. We recreated micro ridge, and we took care of it for 2 to 3 years. We watered it. After that, we left it for nature to take care. And now nobody waters it. There are massive trees over there. Excellent. So we brought in all kinds. We didn't only plant trees. We brought in herbs, shrubs, and because they are the one, when they die, they live for some time, they will rejuvenate that soil and create an ecosystem. So maybe you can start creating these ecosystems. Every school can have a dry ridge in their own location. So they learn the first step of taking care of nature starts from there. That is the place where birds are visiting. There are little creatures over there. It's a beautiful spot over there. It's a micro ridge. So you can start anything. It's up to you what you feel is offensive. Try to correct that.
Great. I can see Praveen has raised hand. Yeah. Please, Praveen, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Nita. How are you?
Hi.
So there is a book by John Lomborg, and he has written a book called Skeptical Environmentalist. And he says that the climate change is only a symptomatic problem. The real problem is something else. So real problem is economy. So if you raise GDP by $5,000 across the world, the climate change will not exist. In the sense that climate change, so all things we address about climate change is again symptomatic and it's not really curative. What are your comments on this?
So again, you're bringing in GDP over here, you're bringing in money over here, but that's the one reason which is causing it. See, climate change, what is climate changes? If you look at the temperature, I don't know whether somebody who remembers their chemistry, when they studied chemistry. When I studied chemistry, when I was in school, I was told that the percentage of carbon dioxide was 0.03%. I don't know whether you remember or not. How many of you ask today's children and look at the textbook of today's, what is the percentage they are learning? It's 0.04. Mm-hmm. So there is a change. You see, if you look at the planet, and let's take the 4 planets next to the sun. All right. So the Earth comes about is in the 3rd place. And if you take the average global temperature, it's about 15 degrees Celsius. I'm talking about average. And the 4th place is Mars. It's about -55 degrees Celsius. And the 2nd place is Venus. It's about 457 degrees Celsius. And the Mercury, which is the closest, it's about 167 degrees Celsius, being closest. So how can that be possible? Is it an error? So the reason is because of the atmosphere which these planets have. The Venus, being the 2nd, not the 1st, is the hottest because it has the atmosphere of Venus has got carbon dioxide. So increase in carbon dioxide is the one which is greasing it. And what is causing the carbon dioxide? It's not only fossil fuel. There is another school of thought, which is climate healers. And they said that a lot of people are going into livestock farming. Why is the rainforest burning? Why don't they want the forest? Why is forest not economical for them? Because having livestock farming is better. It takes time to cut a tree, so burn it. So we are adding carbon dioxide, and livestock farming again adds to the carbon dioxide. So whether you talk about the GDP and all, climate change is happening. Why are there forest fires happening in California? Why? Because in spite of the rains, they had forest fire because of the agricultural practices they've brought in over there. So even if you have huge trees there, the core of the tree, the moisture has been sucked out because there's no underground water. So when a tree burns, if it's an equatorial forest, when it burns, it rejuvenates and comes back. But if its core of the tree is dry, it will just burn off totally. And that's what is happening in California. So there are signs. So if these signs which are happening around the world, if we're going to ignore it, well, as I said, the earth does not need us. It is we who need the earth. It will rebound and come back. It will rebound and come back. And extinction does not happen in few days. It takes millions of years for it to happen. And as I said, hominicid time, they are said that's where maybe we have started. So this is
how do you draw balance between climate change and development? There has to be a balance, right? It can't be so simplistic that no development and only climate change, or vice versa.
Well, development is human induced. It's human wanted. Show me one organism that wants development. The planet does not belong to only humans. It belongs to every organism. But we make sure that humans, there are a lot of people who say that there are three types of living creatures on the earth. There is plants, animals, and humans. This is the first mistake that we do, where we don't consider ourselves to be an animal. The planet is not only for the humans, but yes, human population exploded. You look at the population graph, it's an exponential curve. It's an exponential curve. Show me one organism. I mean, if you look at if you follow it, there was a time where the wild animals and the human population was 80% was your wild animals and 20% was your humans. Now it's just the reverse. It's 80% human and 20% of your wild animals. And how much is your if you compare it with the livestock and this thing, then they are 4 times greater than the human population. The livestock population is 4 times greater. We have about 60% more birds compared to humans. It means poultry, I'm talking about bird feeding. 70% of our livestock is more, and there's only hardly 10% we've left it for the wildlife, and 30% we have kept it, about 20% something we have kept it for the human. So there is a disbalance. There's a disbalance.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah, Tapan. Yeah, Gautam, you want to ask?
Yeah, just a quick thing. Are there any problems, environmentally, which are specific, say, to Asia? For example, we have clubs from Philippines. So are there any problems which are more specific to Asia as opposed to, say, Europe or the US, environmentally?
If you look, there was when we talked about floods, it was more specific to Asia, isn't it? What happened in Germany? What happened in Belgium? It's happening all across.
Right.
It's global level. It's a question of whether having it today or tomorrow.
No. I mean, of course, I agree. I mean, I understand that there is. I'm just wondering, for example,
but yet more specific are the cyclonic effects. You see, if you look at the peninsula of India and you look at the Philippines and all these, whether we have the Arabian Sea as well as the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Oceans. You see the Indian Ocean, if you see, the Indian Ocean temperature is one of the warmest ocean. It's one of the warmest ocean. Right. And for any cyclonic effect to start, the temperature only needs to be about 26.5 degrees Celsius for any minor cyclonic effect. So the temperature of the Indian Ocean, its range is from around 23 to 27. And cyclonic, if you look at these decades back, I mean to 2000, 1990 or before 1990, for about a decade before. So if you talk about, say, 10 years before that, only I think 6 or 7 cyclonic events had happened. From 1998 onwards, it is once a year. Now for last 3-4 years, if you see, 3-4 years, we are facing cyclonic effects normally twice a year. And there are cyclonic effects which are happening simultaneously in Bay of Bengal and in Arabian Sea.
So I just, I think I just realized, I mean, I know there are other people who are waiting to ask a question, but I just want to bring out a point based on what you have spoken about is, we are in such a tiny sweet spot that we survive between 15 to 20 degrees Celsius of temperature, maybe 30 degrees max variation. And in nature and universe, temperatures will range from, the sun is at what I think 2000 degrees Celsius and you have 0 degrees. So in that realm of few thousand degrees Celsius, we survive only in 20-30 degrees Celsius variations of temperature by and large. So I think that just highlights what you have been so passionately talking about, in terms of climate and how there is really no plan B. We better take care of what we got.
Yeah, I can see in the chat box, Dr. Rajan Saxena has written, can't there be a sustainable development? Why think either or?
The only sustainable development is have more trees. That's the only one. If you see the photosynthetic plants, whether it is the phytons, phytoplanktons, or they are the one who are the carbon sink. Name one creature who can take away the carbon dioxide. There's none. No matter how many machines you produce, but to make that machine, you're going to again excavate, you're going to drill, and you're going to create more of carbon emission. So the only creature or the only machine which can is the phytoplanktons and the green trees. There are now dead zones which are occurring in the coastal regions of most of the areas, and it has increased. It has become double. There are about 400 dead zones where occurring. That means there is eutrophication because of this pollution we throw into the water bodies. So there is a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus which goes into it. There's an algal bloom. The algal blooms, it dies, it forms a cover, it cuts off the oxygen, it cuts away the light, it kills the organism below. So basically the water becomes dead.
Yeah, there is another, Professor Tapan Wagle, you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah, please. Actually, Dharmendra, I did not have a question. I wanted to kind of, just extend or, throw some more light on the previous question, which was about sustainable development. Okay, so sustainable development actually has been here. It was, in fact, introduced by the UN way back in 1992, okay, in the Rio summit, which happened in Brazil. Okay, and it's been there for a very long time. In fact, the whole world has encompassed this concept. And to the first question which the gentleman asked about climate change, there are of course a number of what people who are called climate skeptics. Okay, so probably one of the resources which can be referred to is the UNFCCC, which is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which gives a total picture of what climate change is all about. Okay, and there one can also have a look at the IPCC reports, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and understand at least some of the top points. I mean, they keep on producing reports after every 3 or every 5 years. One can have a look at the latest report and get a clear picture about that. As far as sustainable development is concerned, I think most of us know that the UN has come up with 17 sustainable development goals, and all these sustainable development goals are keeping in balance the three dimensions of sustainable development, which is economics, environment, and social. And unless all these go hand in hand, we cannot find any long-lasting solution. Okay, so I mean, while the presentation was very good, it gave, especially the case study was very good. There are already a number of interventions which are in place. Okay, for example, if we look at sustainable development, there is a process called environmental impact assessment, which goes into environmental clearance. Okay, and projects are actually, every developmental project goes through that, and some projects are shelved, and a lot of interventions or a lot of requirements are put in place before a development project kind of goes ahead. Okay, I just wanted to give a perspective on that aspect as well. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tapan. Our international friend Steve Catting is asking that some of my weatherman friends claim that global warming is better than the Earth experiencing the ice age again. Your comment?
We were not there when the ice age happened, so we came after that. So I can't say extreme weathers, whether it is ice age or it is global warming, both are going to kill, both are going to cause a lot of extinction. So if I've been asked to choose, I rather go into, like gentleman said, Mr. Tapan Wagle said, sustainable development. And we, Indians have been following the sustainable development methods for years. It's only once we started aping the West, that's when things went wrong in our country too. So we need to actually go back to our roots and need to follow a more sustainable, maybe, as I said, if it's our action can change this. So let's not talk about, whether I have a choice between an ice age or a global warming. I would rather do my bit, like I do my bit, but my doing alone is not going to make a dent even.
Absolutely.
So for that, everyone needs to join in, and we know what to do.
Absolutely.
We know what to do. We know where the emissions are coming from, and that's why I didn't want to go into the do's and don'ts about what we have to do.
Yeah.
This is a reality. We have to face it.
Yes. Mr. Rotarian Mallikarjun is waiting for some time, so please go ahead, sir.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
So what is my feeling, that what is action is to be taken by us only. So what I feel that right from the education level, right from first standard, now we have to educate the students, educate all the kids regarding these matters, because tomorrow's world is theirs. And also we have to explain them what is the difference between the need and the greed. At present, what we are utilizing the energy out of this universe. See, the many people sitting here are maybe consuming or maybe occupying a space in their own houses which is not required. Our greed, whenever we go for purchasing a flat, if it is 500 square feet sufficient, we purchase 1500 square feet because we have the money. So that culture, that thinking is to be implemented right from the childhood. We are only saying that we have to do the sustainable development, but what I feel that there should be sustainable living also. And that we have to indulge in the small kids. It is not possible that if you once grown up, then your kids go on developing, and you cannot stop the people of purchasing many things which are not at all required. Now in Corona, you might have came to know that in the present situation, the statistic has come. If you go to the department that these malls, then the purchasing of heavy, bigger packets of 5 kg, 6 kg has come down by 25%, and the small packets are their sale is increased. So that means that something is lagging in our thinking of living. That is basically to be changed to change all these things. And I think that we started from the school level. What is your feeling?
Absolutely. I mean, school, definitely. I somehow feel if there can be any change, it's too late for adults like us to change, because we are not open to change, but children are. And if children understand the crux of it, then they can change the adults too, because they are the ideal ambassador for bringing a change. And schools also, unfortunately, what happens in schools is they make it the subject, they introduce the subject, but teachers are not aware of this. They teach it as a subject. They just read it out, the question answer. It's more like an exam oriented. It cannot work like that. Like in my school, in Sanskriti school, that was the only school which had an environmental lab. So we had like a physics, chemistry, biology lab. I had created an environment lab, and my principal tried her level best to bring in a textbook. I said, never, we are not going to bring it. So I used to design and make a program for every class was asked to come to the lab once a week. And we used to actually work towards it. So it was built like a homeopathic medicine. You see, you give it in small dosage, but it is going to definitely act. And that's what it needs to be there. So this, it's before we come to the schools, it's the teachers training programs. They need to be convinced, they need to be this thing. And a proper module has to be made where it's, in our system, in India especially, everything is oriented to exams. It does not work. When it comes to writing an essay, they will write an essay, beautiful essay. They'll make it even a poster, which says save the tree. But what are you making it on a paper? So what is the whole crux of the meaning goes away, because if you're using a paper to make your poster, to give a message that save a tree, then where did you save your tree? This is what we are doing. So it has to be it has to be as basic and as raw as possible. And definitely, yes, the children are the best to target, but even the teachers need to be oriented.
And just before someone has asked regarding the Rotary, where it can intervene, here is the place where the Rotary can intervene for the teachers program.
Definitely. I mean, I really don't know what the Rotary is doing, so I will not be able to, but wherever you think where I can help you out, I'm there to help you out, because my whole purpose in life right now is to reach out to as many people as possible and try to convince them that we need to do our bit.
As you rightly mentioned, Nita, that habits need to be changed at the early age. So we can say that they catch them young. So even at the school age and all, they are taught the right message so they can actually take it forward. So we are actually overshooting time, and we have just I can see three hands raising.
One small question.
Can we, sir, there are three, we have already overshoot the time. So can we go for a quick question for three more audience, and then
one more small question.
Please.
That, madam, generally now we use the paper from only one side. Whether all that they can take the pledge that right from today they will use the paper from both sides.
They should. Well, there are a lot of things I can talk about, but then as a time constraint is there, so we'll take up the next question.
There are small things we can start doing.
Yes, of course. I do it all the time. I do it all the time. My husband is in the hospital. I mean, he makes sure that all printing is done on both sides. You slash it and you print it again, if you need to print it.
Hi, this is Prabhas.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Anybody, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Excellent presentation, Nita Ganguly. You covered the whole holistic way.
Thank you.
My contribution also is around this sustainable development. What I see, say, we all are talking on silos, on say water or energy or transport in this sector. As I'm from Nepal, and in Nepal, what we have is our water resources are from, just for example, from north to south, but our transport development that we're trying to do it east to west. So there's always a compromising between development and environment, as already been discussed earlier. But my focus is say, how do you think this, we all are thinking of in a very silos, or maybe development partners like Asian Development Bank or World Bank or any other agencies, they all are thinking in silos. And they're not going having horizontal coordination or whatever, or multidisciplinary approach for what you call as a sustainable development. And also we are only taking from the mother nature, we're not giving back, and all this climate change and all. So how do you think we can bring these horizontal linkages, so if all of us can have this focused directions, nothing will happen. You are pulling each other. So that doesn't work. That what I think. So what is your take on this?
So I'll give you an example. So maybe it will think. So I met this gentleman called Gunter Pauly. So he's basically, he has this organization called ZERI, Zero Energy Emission Research. And so I believe the Colombians approached him, and they make coffee. They make the best, second best coffee in the world. And these Colombians, they sell the coffee to Starbucks. So I believe the money they were getting for the coffee was only 1% of what they were profiting. So 99% they were keeping, and so there was a court case, and they obviously lost because they were fighting against the giants. And that's when they came, met Gunter, and they asked him to find a solution because we've lost this court case. So Gunter told them that, since they're giving you 1%, and the argument they won the argument was on that a coffee, we use only 99% is all waste. 1% is the extract we take out from the coffee. Therefore, we're paying you for that extract. Okay, we're not paying you for the same thing. So Gunter told them that, okay, fine. So since they are paying you only for the extract, sell them only the extract, keep the whole roughage with you, the used coffee with you. So they were aghast. They said, what are we going to do with this voluminous of coffee, with it? So he believes that problems to any solution lies in the 5 kingdoms. So those who remember the biology in 9th standard, it's the animal, plant, fungi, bacteria, and the protozoas. So what grows on something which is dead is fungi, right? So what he said is he made use of those coffee substrates, and he asked them to start growing Takakashi mushrooms. So now the Colombians, that's an international product. So now the Colombians were not only selling the coffee extract, but they were also selling Takakashi. So they have double income. And then they have seen that the substrate, once you use it, it is not good enough to use it as a compost because it still has a lot of caffeine, and caffeine is not very good for plants to grow because it's too acidic. So they did another thing. They made a slurry after making the Takakashi, whatever was left. They made a slurry and they started growing spirulina. Now, spirulina capsule is again for vitamin B complex and all the thing, and it's again a very expensive product. So they had 3 products from the same coffee. After growing the spirulina, then whatever was left was good enough to convert into compost and give it back into the coffee plantation. So what I'm trying to say is, whenever we're trying to go for any project, no matter what the project is, humans always try to go for what is the shortest and the easiest way we are doing it. We need to think about the interlinking, as we are saying, and whatever project we go for has to be cyclic. If it's cyclic, it is sustainable development. That's what it is. When we talk about something linear and we are left with something with our waste, that's when it is not. So your last waste should be your first resource. And if we can go into it, it can be a sustainable. And there, as Gunter believes, that there is solution to every problem.
Yeah. So there are just last 2 questions with the Prabhas and Gitanjali, and then I'll give it to Shardul.
Hi Nita, this is Prabhas. That was a mesmerizing presentation.
Thank you.
I must appreciate that, and the knowledge you have is very good enough.
I'm more of a motivator. It's not the knowledge. I'm more of a motivator.
Yeah. Okay, and I just wanted to know that is there a method of carbon footprinting the nations?
There are. I mean,
because we as an individual are not aware of what is the carbon footprinting of India. For example, if you talk of Bhutan, there's something else which we talk about whereby we say it's a carbon-free country, emission-free country.
So what is it that they are doing and we are not doing? We don't have to go into a mechanized footprint and calculate. See, the problem is, when everything goes down to paper. On paper, it's beautiful. On paper, there's material, but on practice is nothing. Even the UN in the 15, they're all beautifully written on the paper, but where is the practice? I talk about practice. I talk about mindset. I have to change myself. I can share what I've done with others. We only want data. I'm not a data person. I'm not a paper person. I'm more of an action person. So I would like people to be more action oriented. When you know the things around, we have a complexity bias. Humans are actually if there is a problem, we look for the most complex solution for it, when the answer is very simple. The answer is something in the nature, but we don't look there. So we have to learn to look in the right way. You see,
Thank you, Nita.
I'm more of a
True.
practice person.
Thank you.